I think everybody is a monster at some point in their life. I think the real question is, how do you learn from it, and how do you put the monster at bay or keep the monster at bay? Or how do you combat the mental status that puts you in that position to be a monster? And I say that in an essence of, there's a lot of things that people do when they're younger, inexperienced, lacking the knowledge that they now have, that gets brought back up to them, even when they try to learn from the past and learn from mistakes. And I think it's a really hard pill to swallow when you realize that there will just be some people in the world that will never see past it. And if they do see past it, they'll never really forget it. I feel like it's kind of like having one in the chamber of a gun at all times. And whether it's meant to be hurtful or not, they're still taking that shot at you. And it sucks, man. Like, it is what it is. And it's even worse when, I don't want to say it's not your fault, but there are things in this world that kind of push you into a certain mind frame that you kind of can't get out of, like depression, anxiety, any type of mental health issue, that kind of shape the actions that you had or have. And while you're constantly trying to combat those and still be, a simple term would be like a good person, but to be a contributor, to be involved, to be relevant, to be important, in the battle of doing both of those things at once, something's gonna fall to the wayside. It's very hard to constantly battle off both of those things or keep up with both of those things. And when you sit back and you think that, I'm doing everything that I can to be the best person that I can be, and to keep my thoughts in check, and to give you my all, and to give everything that I touch 110%, and yet you're finding out that that's not always enough. It's a tough obstacle to overcome. And I know that sometimes you break, and sometimes people crack underneath that pressure, and there's nothing wrong with that by any stretch of the imagination. We're not perfect. Eventually, something's gonna break through your armor. And the question of the day is do you try to nip it in the bud right then and there, or do you let it slowly start to consume you? And I like to analyze a lot, and I have a tendency to sometimes overthink things, and I have a tendency to be my hardest critic, as I believe I should be. I don't think anybody should be able to criticize me harder than I can criticize me, because I normally should know what's best for me. But at the same time, when you hear it from someone else, and you hear all of these sides that other people describe to you about you, and that's not who you are, that's not who you wanted to be, that's not who you intended to be, but that's like the image that they're stuck on. It's a hard pill to swallow. It's a hard obstacle to get across. It's a hard mountain to climb, and what do? Like, what do you continuously work towards proving them wrong? Or do you take it in, analyze it, and you fix you, and hope that a byproduct of you fixing yourself or working on yourself will seep down to them and they'll see the changes? And do the people who are bringing these things to your attention, do they know that potentially they were a part of this creation that they're describing to you? I don't think a lot of people think about that. I don't think a lot of people realize the effects that they have, whether they did it directly or indirectly. I don't think they realize how much power they really had or have, and I hear it all the time from family, from certain friends, when we have those really deep conversations about how things were back in the day. It's tough. And the crazy thing for me is it's so easy to look at the negative. And I brought this up before, but it's so easy to focus on, look what you used to do. Look at these negative things that you're doing. Look at where you're falling short. But the second that you start picking it up, you're not getting that same recognition for that. You get recognized for all the bad that you do. But when it comes to the good things that you're doing and the progressions that you're making, nothing's said. Like, you have to bring it to their attention. Well, look at all these things I'm doing. And then you'll hear, yeah, but look at all these things that you're not doing. Look at all the things that you're doing wrong. And I get it if it's constructive. And I get it if you're saying that you're doing everything right, but in actuality, you're constantly doing the same thing, and it's not right. It's not the path you should be taking. It's not the steps you should be taking. It's not the actions you should be taking. And I apologize if I end up rambling a little bit, or if I'm kind of all over the place, but it's something that's been in my mind a lot. Like, I went through another depression slump, and I'm out of it ish now, and I'm looking back at it, and I'm looking back at how I was when I was younger, and I dealt with a lot of depression when I was younger, man, and I look at myself now, and I think I've made a lot of headway with, working on myself and fixing myself, but I don't see a lot of people noticing that. They notice how I was during those depressive stages, how I was when I needed to be away from people I knew. I had to be around superficial people. I had to be by myself. I had to drown out the voices that were in my head, and it wasn't a fun time. I can't say that no one will understand, but until you experience it yourself, or you experience your own version of it, you'll never really understand. I can't describe that to you in a way that you'll fully grasp it, because you don't know. You may be able to understand what I'm saying, but you'll never understand how I felt and how I feel about it. And it's very hard to dig down deep to even articulate it in a way that people can grasp 50% of how you're feeling. So what do you do? I've kicked that question around a lot. I have my parents who feel one way, and they feel like this is who I am. And I have friends that say this is who I am over here, and I've had very, very close friends, like people that I pretty much call family, look at me in this light, and they're all different, they're all so different. They're on different sides of the spectrum. And I'm working towards everyone seeing the side that I want them to see, and seeing the progression that I've made. And there's just some people out there who don't want to see it. That's the best way I can put it. They don't want to see it. Even if I were to show it to them day in and day out, hour after hour, minute after minute, second after second, they're not going to see it. And I don't know if that's okay. I don't know if saying it'll be okay is a fair thing to say, because I mean, I don't know. But for me, I hear everything that's said about me. Everything. From everybody that I come into contact with. Positive, negative, indifference, whatever. I take it all in. And the ones that are negative, that kind of strike a nerve, are the ones I want to work on. The ones that are positive, obviously I'm doing something right, I need to keep doing it. And the ones that are indifferent, well, I gotta do something to make it pick a side. Because I don't like indifference. I know there's a lot of gray areas, but I like black and white. I like cut and dry. And the monster that used to sit inside me was the one that created a lot of indifference or a lot of negativity, and I didn't like that. So now, my life goals are to continue to stay in a positive mindset and continue to do what I do best. And that's show you the best side of me. And there will be times of weakness, and I'm okay with that. There will be times where I've fallen short, and I'm okay with that. I think that a big thing that people need to understand is that it's okay to fall short. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you acknowledge them and you learn from them. And that's what I want to do. I got a lot of imperfections. A lot. My mind is so jacked from years and years and years of the things that I've gone through, and I don't want to be a product of that any more than I already have. So I want to be different. I want to break the cycle. And break the cycle is something that I'm going to do. There's happiness out there. There's positivity out there. There's something better out there. And I'm going to find it. And when I do find it, I'm going to share it with the entire world. Because I don't want people to be stuck. I don't want people to be in a rut. I don't want people to constantly feel the things that I felt day in and day out. That no one will ever really know and ever really see. Because I've become really good at hiding it. And really good at putting on a mask. I got a lot of masks. And I don't need a mask. I don't want a mask. I just want to be me. And maybe that's the point of happiness. Maybe that is what happiness is being you and just being comfortable in your own skin. And then everything else just falls into place afterwards. We're going to kill this monster. And we're going to make something better after. Because we have to. It's what we need.